Hey y'all, it's Shonda here, and welcome to the Healing Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Shonda Domingo Brown, ancestral medium and movement healer, and I'm bringing to you, sharing with you all the things healing and still living your day to day life. So, this one is a special one. This one is for my moms, my caretakers, my grandmas, my aunties, all right, my dads, okay? It's a back to school special. So I'm bringing you 5 back to school rituals that you can do for yourself, and especially for your little ones. So first things first, we about to go back to school. Everybody about to be around everybody, right? So our immune system is the first thing that we want to pay attention to. Our immune system. So herbs that you want to make sure that you have on deck, herbs that have been super impactful for me and my family is elderberry, mullein, licorice root, slippery elm, ginger, turmeric, and there's another one. I'm probably gonna pronounce it wrong, but I'm gonna make sure I put it in the show notes. It's called like L Campaign. All of these are really, really powerful herbs for strengthening your immune system, but also for clearing out any inflammation, for making sure that they have antiviral properties, antispasmodic properties, especially if you have little ones who struggle with respiratory issues. All right, if they have asthma, these herbs are really, really good for strengthening their immune system, but also clearing out mucus, clearing out bacteria that doesn't need to be in their bodies, clearing out anything tied to infections and viruses. So these are some of the herbs you want to have on deck. Now, when it comes to working with these herbs, elderberry syrup, point blank, period. Elderberry, you could go buy elderberry syrup from the store. Sambuco is the brand that I use if I don't have the time or the energy to home make our elderberry syrup. I'm going to put a link in the bio to the recipe that I found that I like using when I make me and the boys elderberry syrup. The other thing I do with the elderberry syrup, I will take that same formula and I'll turn it into gummies. And the boys really like taking it as a gummy rather than me trying to get them to drink the elderberry syrup all the time. But listen, Linda, when I get the elderberry syrup right, meaning when I put a little bit of extra honey in there, they'll take it with no problem. But staying on top of their respiratory, their immunity system and their immune strength as well as yours is like key for when we're getting ready to go back to school, especially giving it to them like a week or two before they even get back into school. If you don't, give it to them year round, this is the time to like kick it into gear. I'm also making us a fire cider for when it gets later in the colder months. I'm going to put the recipe that I plan on using for that. And it's basically you take a jar and you put basically the same things, but you do like ginger, you do your turmeric. Some people put cinnamon. Some people put a little bit of cayenne or black pepper in there. Some people do rosemary, fresh thyme. All of these herbs that are known for having antioxidants, for having vitamins, and you soak it. Some people put a little apple cider vinegar in there. I've seen some people put a little bit of like gin or rum in there, and you soak it and you let it sit. Now would be the time to do it so that by the time we hit like that October, when it starts getting a little cooler, we can start having that go-to thing. You just take like a shot of it. That go-to thing to drink to keep our health on point. Okay. The other way I use it, if I don't do an elderberry syrup, I'll make a tea. The boys call it big boy tea. So they don't sip it warm, like us, we high class, but I make it like almost like a sweet tea, like a cold iced tea for them. So I'll take the elderberry. Sometimes I love putting the licorice root and the mullein in there because they have a sweeter taste as well. And they're demulculants. They also ease and coat the throat and the chest, especially if your little ones, when they get sick, if they cough a lot. Mullein, licorice root, and slippery elm are going to be your best friends, especially the slippery elm. It's really, really good for resting and easing the chest and the throat and really coating it with some extra protection so they're not so painful. Because once they start coughing a lot, and you would know too, right? When we get sick, when you start coughing and how they say like you feel like you about to cough up a lung, like it hurt. It's not fun. But using those herbs and incorporating them into a tea is another way that you can do that to keep the immune systems on point. The last thing when I'm working with herbs for immunity purposes is I love to do a tincture, because a tincture is easy peasy lemon squeezy. I do a respiratory tincture. I'll again put the link to it in the show notes that I sell on my website. The respiratory tincture has all of the herbs I mentioned. It has the mullein, the licorice root, the slippery elm. It has ginger. It has turmeric. I also even include a little bit of peppermint. And I let it soak in rum for about 8 weeks. Okay. And then I also pray over my herbs, right? For strengthening our immune system, healing our heart and our throat chakras, because that's what's being impacted. That's what's being blocked. And the tinctures are easy because all you got to do is put, 3, 4 drops of that thing underneath your tongue or however you want to take it, and then you're done. And that's something I usually give the boys year round. I keep the respiratory tincture on deck, especially because when they were newborns and they were infants, that was one of our biggest things. Them always, always, always getting sick in their everything was always in their chest. They were always coughing, and the pediatrician didn't want to continue to give them the steroid medicine, understandably so, because she was like their bodies are going to get immune to it, which I understood, but also the coughing wasn't going away. And so that's how I got into making the respiratory tincture. I just started researching herbs that were demulculants, researching herbs that were anti-spasmodic to help ease their lungs. That was going to basically do everything a steroid would do, but in this holistic way. And I also understood that there was something deeper going on there with their heart chakras and their throat chakras. I slowed down to see if they really felt like they were being heard. I slowed down to see if they really felt like they were able to express themselves. I slowed down to see even if they were accepting who they were. Even as newborns, even as toddlers, you can start to see those wounds that we deal with in adults. You see them in kids. And if we can catch it early in our babies, if we can catch it when they're toddlers or when they're young, we can really start to heal that stagnancy, that blocked energy, those spiritual wounds. We can go to work on them. So by the time they our age, they out here just getting life lessons and getting their best blissful life. Okay. So the tincture is the last thing that I do when I get their immunity, right, ready to go, and I kick it into gear before back to school. Because, it's a whole bunch of kids, it's germs, we out here, it's dirt, it's all the things. Let's keep it a buck, right? And then we want to have those things on tap and locked in so that their bodies can really be as strong as possible. And so they don't start school 1 week and then you home with them for 2 to 3 weeks because now they sick, right? Now, the next thing that I wanted to share with y'all was the baths, the herbal baths. All right. Again, we going back into a bigger and larger environment. I also did this because this is the boys' first summer doing a summer camp, but they're around a lot of energy. It's not saying that people are bad and all this other stuff, but they're commingling with a lot of energy. Everybody's energies, right, are being intertwined. Everybody's energies are being exchanged. And we got to take care of our babies. We got to make sure that their energy, especially if you are already doing healing work on your kids, you want to make sure that you're preserving all that energy and all that hard work that you've done. You want to make sure that they're not picking up energy that doesn't belong to them, that they're not picking up energy that isn't theirs. You want to also get them into the practice of being able to do that for themselves. So I do clearing baths on the boys when they get home from school and when it's bath time. Basic herbs that you can use, herbs that's in your kitchen, okay? You get you some sage because they're kids. You don't have to do the most with clearing their energies. They're still pretty pure, right? So sage for just clearing out any negative energy, any low vibrations. Basil, which does the same thing. It clears out negative energy, but basil also leaves a sweetness to it. All right. Now, if your little one is super pure hearted, you don't have to use the sage. You can just use the basil. All right. But if you know, like they've been playing sports, they've been tussling, maybe they got into a fight that day with a kid, go ahead and throw that sage in there. Okay. You want to go ahead and throw your thyme in. That thyme is also going to be good for protection. All right. The thyme is going to help clear out that negative energy, but it's also going to keep them protected. So is the rosemary. You want to throw rosemary in there. Rosemary is a powerful herb for protection, but rosemary also brings in peace and harmony. All right. So this is like my foundational herbs. This is basically the go-to that I use for the boys. I only throw in other herbs for them is if something happened that day, like they got into an argument, or I noticed that their self-esteem took a hit. I noticed that maybe there was a particular wound in myself that I saw get activated in them, and then I'll throw in any other necessary herbs that they need to heal any wound that was triggered. But when you're just doing a clearing, you just want to make sure your baby energy is clear, that they sleep good. Okay, you want to do some sage, basil, thyme, and rosemary. Now you can also throw in some lavender and some chamomile for extra protection. Lavender and chamomile are great for protection, but they also, right, they're also nervine, so they're also going to help their bodies rest. It's also going to relax them. Okay, so you can add chamomile and lavender to that combination as well. All right, and you can play with it and see what feels good to you when you're choosing what herbs you want to include. You know your child, right? You know your little one. So when you're choosing what herbs that they need, then you can feel what feels good for you. But those are my go-to because they clear out, it keeps them protected, and then it also helps relax them at the same time. So when they go to sleep, especially if your babies have nightmares or anything like that, it helps get them off into a nice, sweet sleep. Now, if you want to put a little extra and a little bonus on there, you can also pray over those herbs. You can also speak protection and speak clearing out over those herbs. Okay, when you put them in your baby's tub, you can wrap them up in a t-shirt. If you have a muslin bag or a little herbal cloth, you can put that in. You can do that too. Speak over it and then boom, drop that bag in the tub and let the herbs go to work. Let them do the healing on your babies. All right. And then that way you don't have to clean up a whole bunch of herbs out your tub. It ain't fun. Trust me. Okay. Now, when they get out the tub, this leads me to my third one. When they get out the tub, you can put some blessing oil on them. Now, listen, if you got olive oil in your kitchen, just use the olive oil. All right. You don't feel like you got to go through the most. Everything is about your intention. So you want to take that olive oil and you can just rub it at the bottom of their feet. I usually, when I do it on the boys, I say, you are protected and you are loved and you are covered and you are blessed. And then I have them repeat it. I am protected, I am covered, I am loved, and I am blessed. And so when we get out the tub, that's our ritual. And now I do add herbs to my protection oil or my blessing oil over them. But you can take those same herbs that you used in the tub, not the actual herbs, not the ones that just got soaking wet. Don't do that. But the same type of herbs, the sage, the basil, the thyme, the rosemary. All right. And you can actually soak those in olive oil. If you want to let it sit for a couple weeks, you can do that. But if you want it right now, you go ahead and pour you a nice little pot with some olive oil in it, put your herbs in there. Let them cook down for about 15 or 20 minutes. You want to just let them infuse themselves into the oil. Speak your prayer over that oil. Speak your prayer over that baby. All right. And then you want to drain the oil. Okay. And then just put it in a nice little a mason jar for you. All right. And you use just a few. You don't need a little bit. You just use a couple drops, and that's your protection oil. Okay. Don't forget to speak over your herbs, speaking over what you do, doing anything and everything you do with intention is super important. All right. You don't want to do it mindlessly. You want to be present when you're doing this. This is you giving your baby your energy. This is you using your divine energy to bless and to protect your baby. And you also showing them how to do it for themselves in the long run. Okay. So remember, a couple drops on their feet. All right. And if you want to, you can put some like behind their ears, things like that. On the boys, I do it at night when they get out the tub. And if I can remember, I do it in the morning. I usually keep a small little bottle in the car. So that way, if I forget, and then we pull up to school, I can at least put a little bit on their crown, and I rub a little bit on their hands and just tell them I love them. All right. Now, the fourth thing that we want to do, and this is just a straight up back to school ritual, but you can do this for back to school and you can do it at the beginning of the year if you want to as well. It's just like a little foot bath. So I just think it's something fun to do. It's something where if you want to get into doing really cool rituals with your kids, this is a really fun way. So I have this little, you can take a little small foot tub, right? And you can throw some herbs in there, you can throw some chamomile in there. You can throw some hibiscus, some rose petals. Put your basil and your thyme and your rosemary in there with the intention of just sending your child into this school year being blessed. Send your child into this school year being protected. Talk to them about what they're excited about for this school year. What do they want to learn? What are their expectations? And you soak just some warm water, all right? Put it in a tub, put the herbs in there, let the herbs get infused in there, and let your baby soak their feet in the tub. And you can do this for me. I mean, it's kids, right? So I try to do, the goal be 30 minutes, okay? But listen, Linda, if I can get 15 out of them, I'm a happy woman, all right? And you can also do this as a bath if you want to, too. It's easier to get the 30 minutes in if you make it a bath. But the intention is to do it to bring them blessings and to bring them abundance, to bring them confidence, to bring them authenticity, to bring them willpower and courage as they go into the new school year. All right. So just having that type of bath or foot soak blessing is another thing that we can do, and that, I like to do for beginning the school year. This is my first year doing it, but I'm so amped. I'm like, ooh, we on to something. Let's go, let's go. And I notice my boys get excited about it. And when I do stuff like that for them, they just feel so loved and so seen. And it's a really beautiful way to be able to bond with them. Now, the last thing is easy peasy, y'all. The last thing is just speaking over them, whether it's prayer, whether it's intention, whether it's affirmations, really speaking over them and allowing them to participate in that process with you. I like to say with the boys, we do affirmations in the car. I say, you are blessed. And they say, I am blessed. You are divine. I am divine. You are kind. You are covered. You are loved. So whatever feels good. Is there, my boys are 4. So I limit it to like 4 affirmations. But what I notice is the more consistent I stay on it, they remember those things and they lean on those things when life starts getting a little, rough for them. They go through some things. They're dealing with rejection. They're dealing with socialization, right? And it's showing them that you lean on those affirmations to remind you of who you are, to remind you of your core, to remind you of your foundation, that you are loved and you are covered and you are protected and you are kind and you are caring. And so no matter what happens to you when you get out of this car, when you walk out of this house, remember that this is who you are and this is what you come from and this is what is possible for you. So speak over them, speak what you want, and have them be a part of that process. Have them speak over themselves too, because that's even more powerful. Okay. So you got your 5 back to school rituals, y'all. Get that immunity on point. Whatever way feels good to you and whatever is easy, because we are parents and you have moments that where you can be fancy and you can do the most, and you have moments where you just need it to be easy. All right. So whatever that looks like for you, whether it's a tea, whether it's a tincture, all right. And then also you want to look at the clearing bath. All right. You want to do the blessing oil. You want to do the blessing bath or that foot soak. All right. And then speak what you want to happen and what you want to see happen over them. All right. So let's get these babies ready. Okay. And the more consistent you can do these things, even throughout the school year, the more you can help them heal, the more you can help protect their energy, and the more empowered they feel, and the more you bond with them and they know that you are a safe space. And they're also learning how to do that for themselves. I let the boys, put the herbs in the bag. All right. Include them in that process as much as you can. Because then when they get older and they like 9 and 10, they can start doing it for themselves. They can start telling you what's going on, and you got tools to help them through it, right? You got tools to help them really handle it spiritually and energetically with what's going on with them. All right. So happy back to school, y'all. We are out here in these back to school streets. All right. Send me a message. Let me know if you need any clarity. Let me know how these rituals work for you. I'm so excited to continue to do them. Child, it's gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year. Thank you so much for listening to the Healing Lifestyle Podcast. I'm sending y'all so much love, and I'll talk to you soon.